The internet has changed the way we shop and learn about products. One pressing issue we face today is fake reviews. These are not real opinions, but instead, they are created to trick people into buying things they might not need or want. Imagine you want to buy a new video game. You look online and see many 5-star reviews saying it's the best game ever. Excited, you decide to purchase it. Later, you find out that many of those reviews were written by people paid to promote the game. You feel disappointed, and your trust in online shopping shakes. This issue matters now more than ever because millions of people across the globe rely on digital platforms for buying everything from tech gadgets to books. Fake reviews bring harm not only to shoppers, but also to honest businesses that sell genuine products. Big companies like Amazon or Yelp have fought against this practice for years. When people can't trust reviews, they hesitate to buy, affecting sales. Personal stories illustrate this problem. For example, a small bookstore in Texas struggles because customers choose big online retailers thinking they'll find the best deals. When they discover fake promotions behind these deals, they lose confidence in all businesses, including the sincere ones. Fake reviews disconnect consumers from true experiences, creating a cycle of distrust. People may think, if reviews can be lies, can anything I find online be real? It leads to uncertainty and frustration. This issue is everywhere, impacting communities and businesses worldwide, but it also opens a window for change. Individuals can learn to identify true reviews, and companies are striving to uncover and remove dishonest practices. It requires effort and awareness. By standing together, we can protect honest voices and diminish the power of fake reviews in our lives. Through awareness, we can reclaim trust and ensure we buy in a world where honesty matters. As time went on, Sarah felt the weight of her choices grow heavier. She still loved exploring new products and reading reviews, but now doubt crept into her mind. Growing up in a small town, she had always trusted word-of-mouth recommendations. She believed her community shared honest advice, but the spread of fake reviews made her question everything. It felt as if she had entered a maze without a map. Was it even possible to find genuine opinions anymore? This issue was not just about Sarah. It affected her neighbors, friends, and almost everyone who shopped online. Big corporations filled their pockets by lying. They paid shadowy people to create fake reviews praising their products while fading out honest voices. The small business, the one run by a kind couple who always remembered her name, began to suffer. Many locals were steering clear of honest shops to buy online because they were tempted by glowing reviews from strangers. Sarah thought about the bookstore that used to be busy with families looking for adventures and stories. Now, it seemed empty, and the owners struggled to pay their bills. As Sarah navigated her worries, she learned more about the systems that allowed this issue to thrive. A major challenge was how online platforms operated. Websites often focused on collecting reviews, but they rarely checked if those reviews were written by real customers. This allowed fake feedback to sit side by side with genuine voices, muddying the water. New policies could help, but change often took time, leaving communities to fend for themselves in a world where trust was broken. Without support, Sarah and many people in her town felt frustrations rise. One evening, Sarah spoke to her neighbor, Mr. Johnson, a retired teacher. He used to share his favorite books with children, igniting their love for reading. Now, he felt sad watching the bookstore close. Mr. Johnson shared his desire to raise awareness about fake reviews. "It's not just about us, Sarah. It's about promoting a community where people feel safe to share honest opinions," he said. His voice trembled, reflecting genuine concern for the local economy and its impact on everyone. Inspired by Mr. Johnson's passion, Sarah gathered her friends one weekend. They discussed how they could help the bookstore and promote real reviews. They brainstormed ideas, creating a plan to share their experiences with products and local shops like the bookstore. They began to write their own reviews, sharing personal stories and insights. It felt good to take control of the situation, even if just a little. Still, self-doubt remained. What if no one saw their efforts? Would people choose to hear her voice over strangers online? Silence loomed in her mind, but they carried on. If they succeeded, it could inspire others. If they failed, it could simply teach them resilience. As they posted their reviews online and shared experiences with one another, the group began to realize that their small actions had the potential to create positive change. They learned together, growing more confident in their ability to provide authentic feedback and support their community. Sarah understood that progress could be slow, and doubts might always be there, but she fought to combat the daunting feelings that arose. Humanity often faced challenges, yet every struggle offered a chance to stand at the crossroads between doubt and belief. If they worked together as a community, perhaps they could spark a ripple effect towards rebuilding trust and respect in consumer choices, making the world just a little brighter one genuine review at a time. As Sarah and her friends promoted genuine reviews, they began to see small wins. The local bookstore had more visitors, and people started to talk about the importance of real opinions. However, not everything was simple. They soon realized that many barriers stood in their way. A strong current of resistance existed against changes in how businesses manage reviews. Big online companies, the ones benefiting the most from fake reviews, had no reason to push for new systems. Why should they fix something that filled their pockets? Amidst this challenge, Sarah learned about experts trying to tackle the issue. One such expert was Dr. Emily Roth, a marketing professor from a nearby university. Dr. Roth had spent years studying online consumer behavior and understood the impact of fake reviews deeply. She spoke at events, urging people to demand transparency and honesty from platforms. "We cannot let anyone decide how we buy. Each voice must matter," she said passionately. Dr. Roth proposed solutions like stronger identification of reviewers and requiring proof of purchases before posting feedback. She also encouraged developing official channels for reporting fake reviews whenever found. They were bold ideas, but how realistic could they be? Some agreed with Dr. Roth's insights. They saw her suggestions as logical and necessary. Yet many others hesitated. Critics argued that these proposals seemed too complex and could limit free speech online. Some larger companies pushed back, fearing that these changes would mean more regulation and less control over how they engaged customers. Many smaller businesses worried too. What if a strict system made it harder for them to gain visibility and support? Despite the pushback, Dr. Roth's voice gained traction in the community. Sarah and her friends watched how social media amplified her message. Posts shared by local influencers and community members helped to spread awareness and build support. Many customers began to realize the larger context around fake reviews, turning their interests toward protecting honest voices. Sarah began to feel a newfound confidence. Each supported post and additional visits to the bookstore lifted her spirits. Inspired by Dr. Roth's messages, she encouraged her friends to engage their families in discussions about online shopping experiences. Slowly, the tension around the topic started unraveling. Neighbors began to share personal stories about how fake reviews had misled them. They spoke about purchases that had wasted their money, decisions that echoed deeper than just a lost dollar. As reactions simmered across town and beyond, it became clear that solutions were gaining momentum. Conversations sparked hope, offering a united front that demanded fair treatment online. Although challenges remained in comparing their voices to the vast echo of corporate giants, Sarah knew they had each other. By sharing their experiences, they built a network of trust. They realized their path might seem small, but each sincere review and discussion nudged society closer to recognizing the need for change. Dr. Roth's ideas grew roots in the community, and people slowly began to embrace them. With every shift toward awareness, Sarah's confidence bloomed. If they worked together, they could stand firmly against the obstacles in their way. Change was underway, and while the journey would not always be easy, Sarah understood they were moving forward, one truthful voice at a time. Just when Sarah felt a glimmer of hope in their fight against fake reviews, a turning point arrived, shaking the community to its core. One day, news broke out about a large online retailer, a big player in the market, being caught in a scandal involving fake reviews. Reports revealed that they had been paying people to write positive feedback on their products, even if those people had never tried them. This shocking information spread like wildfire across newspapers, social media, and television. Everyone in town was talking about it, and even some of Sarah's friends were stunned. This was not just a small issue anymore. It had become a headline case affecting how many people viewed online shopping. This scandal became the spark for a movement. People quickly began to gather, sharing their anger and disbelief online. Hashtags like #HonestReviewsMatter appeared everywhere, filled with stories from individuals hurt by fake reviews. Sarah noticed how many others began reflecting on their purchase experiences. As she passed the bookstore, she spotted a sign in the window, encouraging buyers to join the movement for honest feedback. "Let's fight for what's true," it declared, igniting a sense of empowerment within her. But with this emotional rallying came challenges. While many people rallied behind the movement, there were still pockets of resistance. Some defended the practices of big corporations, arguing that fake reviews did not truly hurt anyone. They claimed that customers were ultimately responsible for deciding what to believe. This shifting opinion divided some of Sarah's friends into two groups: those who thought change was possible and those who were skeptical. Sarah felt torn, experiencing both the thrill of being part of a growing movement and the frustration of dissent among her circle. Dr. Emily Roth, whose voice had been rising over the past months, became a central figure in the media. Many news channels hosted her to share her thoughts on the scandal. She spoke passionately about the implications of the recent events, urging the government to take action. Dr. Roth explained that people's trust must be earned and protected, not capitalized for profit. Reports began to surface about potential new regulations to oversee online reviews, ideas that many had once considered far-fetched. The growing media attention brought even more challenges. It reached various levels of society, dividing opinions even further. Communities would gather in parks, holding signs that read, "Demand real voices," and "Bring trust back to reviews." These public protests inspired greater awareness and empathy for the cause. They attracted local news coverage, turning the issue into a story of perseverance for many towns across the country. However, momentum faced a setback when major corporations fought back. They pressured lawmakers to halt the enforcement of new rules. Sarah read about corporations spending millions on ads that sought to sway public opinion by stating that reviews were part of a world where opinions differ. Their influence made people question if the rising movement had enough power to counter such a large network of money and resources. Just as doubts began to creep back, Sarah found solace at the bookstore. Their once empty aisles buzzed with talking neighbors and friends, all united by a shared goal of support. The world had changed in a matter of weeks, and now Sarah recognized that they had reached a crucial point. Challenges lay ahead, and doubts filled the air, but together, the strength of the movement pushed onward. Transformed by the intensity of the moment, she realized the fight had grown bigger than she ever dreamed. With tension swirling in the air, she knew the future rested on their combined will to keep on fighting for honest voices in a world filled with noise. The tension reached its peak one stormy evening when Sarah and her friends decided to stage a big gathering in the town square. Fueled by a sense of urgency and passion, they organized a public meeting to raise awareness around the recent scandal involving fake reviews. News of the meeting spread quickly, drawing a huge crowd comprised of local residents, business owners, and even concerned families. Everyone was ready to stand against the tide of dishonesty affecting their buying decisions. As the event began, participants held signs that read, "Honesty is key," and "Our voices matter." Dr. Emily Roth was there as the guest speaker, her presence igniting a flame of energy throughout the square. People gathered close, listening intently as she spoke. "We must hold companies accountable for their actions. Together, we have the power to drive change." Her words echoed in the air, instilling hope in everyone present. However, just as excitement filled the atmosphere, a group of protesters emerged from the shadows. These were followers of the big corporations, pushing back on the rising movement. Chaos broke out as the two groups clashed in the square. The voices that echoed minutes before turned into shouting, drowning out the uplifting message of the gathering. Sarah watched in dismay as friends were pulled into heated debates with strangers. Anger bubbled as both sides exchanged words, accusations flaring up like fire. Uncertainty blanketed Sarah's heart. She worried that this conflict could undo all the progress made in their community. In an effort to quell the tension, Dr. Roth stepped forward, raising her hands and demanding attention. Her calm and confident demeanor transformed the space. She spoke of understanding and cooperation. "We may not agree on everything, but we all want the same thing: honesty in our reviews and trust in our choices." As she continued to speak, even the most vocal opponents began to listen. The power of her insight melted hostility, nurturing respect among opposing sides. Meanwhile, the emotional weight of the moment struck Sarah. She realized that they had reached a turning point not just during the confrontation, but within the hearts of individuals present. She began to see faces in the crowd change, from anger and frustration to contemplation. It was clear that although divisions existed, the need for trust resonated deeply with everyone. This moment changed the energy in the room, uniting people with a shared concern rather than pitting them against one another. The next day, news of the clash reached local media, sparking discussions across various platforms. Articles praised the community's importance in forging connections in the fight for honesty, while also acknowledging the conflict from the corporate members. For the first time, the scale seemed to tip toward change. Many companies began considering policies that prioritized authentic consumer voices. Individuals started demanding responsibility from those platforms that allowed fake reviews to exist, echoing sentiments shared by Sarah and her friends. Thanks to that critical night, local leaders began to engage with online platforms in meaningful conversations about maintaining integrity in reviews. It led to legislation being proposed for future protection against misinformation. The narrative surrounding fake reviews shifted rapidly, giving rise to a new standard: the importance of trust. Communities and families, now fortified by a sense of unity, celebrated their small victories, rallying together to create a new culture where honesty prevailed over deceit. In the aftermath, Sarah recognized she was part of something bigger than herself. She transformed from someone once paralyzed by doubts into a beacon of change. The community blossomed with renewed hope, proving that collective voices could truly reshape society. Together, amidst the tides of corporate greed, real empowerment emerged, illuminating the darkness and planting seeds of trust throughout their lives. After the heated night in the town square, the air shifted significantly. The community buzzed with conversation, digesting the intensity of the protests and the realization that people genuinely cared about creating change. Sarah and her friends found themselves reflecting on everything that had unfolded. Sitting around a table at the bookstore, they discussed both the challenges ahead and the promises that lay ahead. "I didn't think we could make it this far," Sarah admitted, her voice still shaking from the energy of the gathering. "But now I feel like we actually can impact our town and beyond." Many others felt the same way. Community leaders began to reach out to Dr. Roth, seeking her insights on how to maintain the momentum they had built. At the local cafe, people shared stories about how they'd been affected by fake reviews and how encouraged they were by the recent events. Conversations turned to new ways to encourage customers to think critically about online information. This was a turning point, where the weight of their shared experiences unified people toward a common goal. However, they faced new challenges as well. The big corporations that had resisted the movement weren't backing down. A few days later, news broke that the same company involved in the scandal launched a powerful PR campaign, attempting to rebrand themselves by emphasizing their commitment to quality over their past mistakes. They showcased stories of customers happy with their purchases, but avoided addressing the core issue of trust. This move made some community members uneasy, leading to heated debates once again. Would the shelf life of their momentum end up being temporary, swallowed by corporate influence? Dr. Roth encouraged Sarah and her friends to push against the fear of powerful entities. The real strength lies in honesty and collaboration, she reminded them. They decided to pour energy into creating a small campaign that highlighted ethical businesses in the community. They called it the Honest Choice Initiative, aiming to celebrate local shops with a track record of trust and authentic feedback. As they spread the word, this campaign fueled community engagement. People rallied to back shops they believed represented genuine values. It became a movement in itself, encouraging consumers to make educated decisions while feel connected to local businesses. This newfound initiative rekindled excitement. People reached out, sharing their stories of support for small businesses, ensuring honest reviews remained at the forefront of their purchases. The movement gained enough popularity that the local newspaper even covered their efforts, reaching an audience beyond their community. This larger visibility encouraged more hardening conversations, creating pressure for online companies to improve their reviewing policies. As Sarah paid closer attention, she knew that although steps had been taken, the struggle remained relevant. The society that they had rallied to inspire was under the watchful eye of complex forces. The battle to ensure continued integrity in reviews involved not just their local businesses, but all consumers as well. They still had hurdles to overcome, yet the lessons from their journey shaped their perspective. One significant takeaway resonated with Sarah. It was clear that lasting change required continued effort and vigilance. The importance of unity became clearer through every debate and every story shared. They learned that each voice mattered, and they had the power to shine a light on industry challenges. Reclaiming trust was not an overnight fix. It would need perseverance alongside insight and reflection. As the weeks passed, Sarah began to see shifts in her community. A broader acknowledgement arose of the need for truthful narratives. The paths taken by her small group reverberated far beyond their expectations. They realized that while some challenges continued to loom, hope had firmly rooted itself within them. No longer solely a story of struggle, they had redefined their journey, growing into advocates for change. And now, new solutions awaited on the horizon, promising progress where once doubt had lingered. In the weeks that followed the turning point, Sarah noticed a whirlwind of change sweeping through her community. Small businesses began to rise, encouraged by the support of their neighbors. People were now more cautious, checking reviews and sharing genuine experiences. The Honest Choice Initiative started to take shape, gathering momentum as more community members joined the cause. Families were returning to local stores, smiling at familiar faces. Each supportive visit felt like a small victory in a larger battle. However, not all the news was positive. Some individuals found it challenging to adapt to the new landscape. A few stores that had relied on fake reviews to attract business faced closure, as they struggled to compete in an environment demanding authenticity. Sarah witnessed this hardtake when she visited a nearby electronics shop. The owner, Mr. Thompson, sat dejected behind the counter, his once busy shop now nearly empty. He explained to Sarah that the sudden drop in customers made it hard for him to stay afloat. "People are less trusting now," he admitted with a sigh. I thought a flashy ad with great reviews would bring them in, but now I realize that wasn't enough. He had refused to change his practices quickly, relying instead on past tactics that now felt outdated. She felt a tug at her heart, recognizing how hard it was for him to shift gears in this new reality. Sarah and her friends decided to help. They shared Mr. Thompson's story through their social media platforms, emphasizing the importance of supporting honest businesses like his. On a broader scale, government officials began paying attention to the clamor for better regulations surrounding online reviews. In a town meeting, community members voiced their desire to protect customers from fake information. The gathering resulted in proposals for new laws regarding transparency in promotions and stricter penalties for businesses caught misleading consumers. Sarah saw this shift as a powerful move, reflecting the efforts the community had mobilized to confront injustice collectively. Meanwhile, large corporations felt the pressure too. With public opinion shifting, several began launching campaigns promoting their commitment to authentic feedback. They now observed growing calls for increased accountability. Changes emerged, not out of kindness, but because consumers demanded it. Sarah's community had shown that people wouldn't stand for deception. Increased scrutiny meant consumers would engage with companies that valued integrity. In universities and marketing classes, discussions around the responsibility of businesses were flourishing. Dr. Roth wrote articles highlighting how trust could reshape customer behavior for various companies. Students debated ethical marketing strategies and evaluated case studies of brands that struggled or thrived during this recent shift. This taught future leaders the importance of honesty and transparency, allowing a new generation to learn the lessons scarred in their hometown. As Sarah wandered through her revitalized community, she felt hopeful yet cautious. Every transformation carried its challenges. The journey ahead would demand constant vigilance and commitment from everyone involved. Pets grew used to local stores buzzing with activity, and children began recognizing the warmth of being with familiarity again. Communities connected over online platforms, where they exchanged stories about honest businesses, boosting each other with encouragement. Change took effort, but it began to flower, settling into everyday lives. Sarah reflected on how it began with a single voice and small steps, eventually transforming into a movement for many. As people navigated this aftermath and adjusted to new realities, each experience carried the power to educate and inspire, revealing that adjustments to life's trials might come with unexpected and enlightening results. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah began to observe the deep changes that unfolded in her community and beyond. The fight against fake reviews ignited a greater awareness of the importance of honesty in all aspects of life. People were more diligent in choosing where to spend their money. The Honest Choice initiative became a rallying cry, not only in her town, but also in nearby cities. Local businesses began grouping together, sharing strategies to promote genuine reviews and transparent practices. This collaboration fostered a sense of unity. Business owners exchanged stories of triumphs and challenges, while supporting one another through the evolving economic landscape. Sarah noticed that consumers were becoming increasingly empowered. They were more alert to the influence of marketing and understood the power of their choices. Testimonials and authentic experiences were shared on social media, allowing individuals to contribute to a dialogue based on real interactions. Social media platforms transformed into community forums where honest feedback thrived. For Sarah, seeing her neighbors taking a stand was rewarding. "We're forming a new culture," she thought, proud of how the community surged from the shadows of deceit. However, this environment was not entirely free from tension. As people became aware of fake reviews, they also began scrutinizing businesses more closely. New issues emerged, particularly for smaller companies that felt the weight of raised expectations. The pressure to maintain a perfect image put added strain on entrepreneurs, leading some to become anxious about managing their online presence. Sarah sat down with Mr. Thompson from the electronics shop again, and he expressed his concern about ensuring his store continued to meet growing standards each month. "It feels like I'm balancing on a tightrope," he said, his eyes revealing weariness. Dr. Roth remained actively engaged, holding community workshops to help businesses understand how to adapt to these pressures. "Failures can be opportunities for growth," she reminded everyone. "Transparency builds trust, but it's okay to stumble. Share your mistakes. People respect authenticity." Her advice garnered attention, and many entrepreneurs began embracing their shortcomings, learning that customers appreciated real stories over perfection. They realized that showing vulnerability allowed for connection rather than criticism, slowly relieving some of the pressure that had settled over the community. While many adjustments flourished, the ripple effect of the campaign against fake reviews also sparked discussions about internet regulations on a broader scale. People began addressing concerns related to influencers and paid partnerships. Were these advertisements genuine, or did they disguise their intent? Some worried that past issues of fake reviews would resurface as new forms of marketing obscured the truth. Communities were deeply engaged in debates on how to protect consumer rights while respecting freedom of expression. Additionally, the larger tech companies grew concerned about the implications of this cultural shift. They noticed a resistance movement sprouting among consumers, amplifying the call for greater accountability in the digital landscape. Sarah observed how once powerful corporations began consulting experts on ethical digital marketing, hoping to shift the narrative in their favor before it was too late. They reached out to communities like hers, trying to understand the grassroots movements forming across various states. In her heart, Sarah felt the hope and challenges collide. The ongoing debates around transparency highlighted the complexity of consumer interactions today. While community members were dedicated to prioritizing honest institutions, anxiety about the future stoked conversations that needed resolution. Amid these concerns grew the belief that individuals had the power to affect change, and igniting that belief was enough to keep hope alive. Each personal story fueled a new understanding of trust, and with every effort, a brighter image of the economy and its ethics began to take root. A deeper connection to honest practices encouraged meaningful conversations about responsibility in an evolving world. Sarah watched as her community embraced the importance of continual adaptation, recognizing that growth often stemmed from honest acknowledgement of mistakes. In this journey, moments of struggle forged stronger bonds, paving the way for a society centered around sincerity, connection, and lasting progress. As time passed, Sarah felt a tremendous shift in her community, one that reflected growth and hope for a better future. The fight against fake reviews transformed into more than just a campaign. It became a movement that empowered individuals to take charge of their choices and advocate for honesty. The Honest Choice initiative gained traction throughout neighboring towns, inspiring countless others to join the discussion about integrity and consumerism. Sarah knew this was not just about changing reviews, it was about changing mindsets. In the weeks following the engagement of businesses and consumers, a local marketplace emerged, focusing on sustainable and ethically sourced products. Stores began displaying a seal indicating they valued genuine feedback over flashy marketing. Sarah and her friends volunteered to help spread the word, showcasing businesses committed to transparent practices. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Instead of simply attending stores, people began forging connections, asking questions, and learning more about the products they were buying. Sarah realized that the cracks in trust created opportunities for new foundations built upon respect. Even as her community thrived, challenges were still on the horizon. The issue of accountability persisted, leading to important discussions around social and economic policies. When big companies began consulting her community, including experts like Dr. Roth, it displayed a growing recognition of the consumer's power in shaping the market landscape. Sarah learned that they could not solely rely on legislation to bring about change. Instead, individuals had to be proactive in engaging with businesses, advocating for reform, and holding companies accountable for their actions. Alongside the blossoming local initiatives, online platforms began updating their policies to deter fake reviews. Government agencies responded to demand, strengthening guidelines around transparency. Advocacy groups arose, focusing on consumer education and awareness, working tirelessly to combat misinformation in the digital world. It became clear that these were victorious steps toward redefining how society approached honest communication in the marketplace. Reflecting on everything they had learned, Sarah noted the importance of continuous dialogue. It wasn't enough to rush through, hoping improvements would last. Open conversations among citizens, businesses, and governing bodies needed to be a routine part of the community fabric. Compromises and adjustments must echo through every corner of society, ensuring the message was clear. Accountability, truth, and connection mattered. Sarah envisioned town hall meetings transforming from mere discussions to vital platforms for community decision-making. In this changed landscape, Sarah felt it was crucial for everyone, including her friends, to remain engaged. They learned a powerful lesson that one voice could spark change, but it required teamwork and active participation by all to create long-lasting impact. Each individual held a unique role in shaping the marketplace and ensuring that future generations benefited from shared values of authenticity and trust. The bright future seemed near. Sarah dreamed of a world where consumers felt confident in their choices, where reputable businesses thrived by offering genuine products, earning respect rather than desperation. The dialogues that had erupted during the fight against fake reviews brought people together, creating a culture of support and care that not only impacted local stores, but spilled into all areas of society. Through all these experiences, Sarah realized change would not happen overnight. It required consistent effort, attentive minds, and passionate hearts. She felt proud to be part of a community that stood together to fight for trust and honesty, proving that even small efforts could lead to profound transformations. The platform they built was resilient, and as news stories unfolded, Sarah remained convinced that true change was achievable, as long as individuals continued pursuing and championing integrity. Together, they ushered in a new era of conscientious living, ensuring the lessons learned would not only resonate for years to come but foster a lasting commitment to honesty in all facets of life.